Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hi there, it's great to be back.
It is, and there's some very curious, potentially very big things going on right now. As we see this one, it's like, gosh, what to start with today? Cyberattack forces a shutdown of a top U.S. pipeline, right? Operator. This is big. This is a cyber attack that forced the shutdown of one of the largest pipelines in the U.S., which appeared to be a significant attempt to disrupt vulnerable energy infrastructure. The pipeline carries refined gasoline and jet fuel up the East Coast from Texas to New York. Operator of the system, Colonial Pipeline, said in a statement late Friday it shut down its 5,500 miles of pipeline, which it said carries 45% of the East Coast fuel supplies, in an effort to contain a breach on its computer networks. Earlier Friday, there were disruptions along the pipeline, but it was unclear whether it was a direct result of the attack or of the company's moves to proactively halt it. And administration officials said that an investigation into the episode was in very early stages and that it was unclear whether the attacker was a nation or a criminal group. At times, they work in concert. Oh, yes. Yeah, that's for sure. If you just look at what goes on over in the Middle East and and pay attention to places where they're not just giving you mainstream BS, you'll see that forces that may be fighting on one side can all of a sudden be employed by countries, including perhaps even this country. It's a mixed up world here for sure, to say the least. But we've been talking about the prelude to the Great War that they want to initiate, that third version of the war to end all wars. And what do you do when you're prepping? Well, you target infrastructure, you target supplies. If you really have studied warfare, you know that the side that can resupply the quickest and the best is at an advantage.
That's really, really concerning, when you start looking at things like that from that standpoint. Yeah, I mean, that puts quickly you can see who's at the disadvantage when they say, oh, this has been blocked and that's been shut down. You start to see the weak links in the chain.
Yeah, there was a question yesterday that one of you guys that are regulars put out there and said, if there are, puppet masters at the very, very top, and, most of the politicians we see, well, the question really was, how many of them are in the know and really understand what's going on here? Or how many of them are, say, perhaps blinded by the whole matrix itself, like the majority of the population has been? And I think really the people that really know and understand what's going on are very, very few. I think it's more in the military than there is in the political realm that understand what's going on.
And I believe that people who understand what's going on, the ones that are awakening, they're kind of at an advantage and a disadvantage, because that puts you as a target. People don't want anybody understanding the different layers of all the issues that we're having these days.
And there's many layers, in that fine dining country that we had talked about, China, as we go back to 2005 and see a statement from a top official of the CCP saying that, WAR is inevitable with the USA. But they wouldn't invest in aircraft carriers, which they have invested in a few now. But what they would invest in and what they would develop is basically a plague to go out and do the work first. So just, we recognize that there's many players in this. And, there's people in relatively high upper echelons of politics that you might know more than them. And I think that's the case. often about what's really going on. I think a lot of them are misguided, don't have a clue, or they're just so eager and just focused on things like, well, our $3 million mansion is just too small for us now. We need to, move on up, and that one right over there for 12 million. Now that would be better. We really need 10,000 square feet. That type of thing goes on and gets wrapped up in people's minds, and perhaps they don't want to see what they're starting to see because it would shatter their whole earth view. And we've seen this too in the religious point of view. When questions come up, there are some that just, wow, that's kind of weird. I don't want to look at it. It's just a divine mystery. God knows better than me.
Right. That's something that we really need to stop doing. And if you don't understand something, look further, look deeper until you do understand something. Don't always take somebody else's word or their understanding. Go find your own understanding.
Yeah, so this is big. And of course, remember we had the whole Russia hack. Think about it, shutting down a massive pipeline, so disruptive. Right now, too, when we do watch things, a lot of times, as the throat chakra attack occurs again, a lot of times what we're watching really is the homesteading channels, a lot of that type of thing, because so much of our focus in the time ahead is going to be feeding ourselves so that we can stay outside of the system. And we're seeing pressure now. You're going to see more and more and more pressure. And, we actually have dear friends and family that are up in Canada that are trying to get out, because they see the writing on the wall. And, as far as options, so let's say Texas looks a lot better than Canada as far as personal liberties right now. So there is most definitely that underway as well. There's a lot of things to consider here, but what we're seeing with those channels on homesteading is a lot of people that are asleep, perhaps to the geopolitical, to the manipulation that's going on, and perhaps have absolutely no clue to the extraterrestrial, interdimensional aspect of things. They're starting to say things like, well, it's weird. Last year when we made these raised beds and stuff, we went and plenty of supplies, and we were going to add on to the greenhouse and add some more raised beds and, maybe build another chicken coop. But do you know there's like no supplies, or the wood that's there it's 6 times as much as I spent last year. So, this is that perfect storm that we've been talking about that we're in the middle of. That is really what it's doing, is it's gonna eventually, I could see the earth changes going to another point. I could see and obviously the GEO MOD increasing as well. What happens, and we were faced with this too. We have 2 choices for insurance for the house if we ever do get the house. One of them basically just will give you enough money to pay off what you owe on the mortgage. It'll give you basically the current value of the house that it's appraised for, so to speak. And the other one is how much it would cost to actually rebuild it now. As the place we're looking at is a very old structure. Well, to rebuild it now is over 2 times the price of the value of the house. Whoa. So, this is huge. And also, by the way, the insurance is more than double. So what people are finding now is, even if they have the means, or thought they had the means to do things, to build things, this whole lockdown, plague upon the land, everything has been so orchestrated. It's hitting on so many different levels. And, eventually I could see where, okay, what happens? Massive hurricane comes in, something like a Katrina or a Harvey, God forbid, something worse. Or some other, like, what if the storm that we had in Texas, a worse version comes down, or we get a series of them, and pipes are bursting everywhere, heat's out, et cetera, et cetera. I know people that are actually hoarding wood burning stoves. They're hoarding they're stocking up on wood burning stoves for what's coming. Well, what if you can't get replacements, and then it's like a black market where, yeah, well, that wood burning stove you could have gotten on eBay for $150. Now it's $3,000 or $5,000 if anybody's going to sell it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens if your house is wiped out, and and it's gonna, you might have had $100,000 house, now to replace it's 350,000, and you don't even have supplies available. So eventually I think we're going to end up seeing a lot of CAMPSs popping up.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody is going to be relying more and more on Uncle Sam over here in the US, and BIG brother just anywhere else in general for help.
Oh yeah, they're going to come galloping to the rescue.
Yeah, we could see this. This is what is going on. It's making people more reliable on the powers that be. Rail service hit by significant disruption in England after cracks found on high-speed trains. Now, this is on the trains themselves. After we had seen the collapse over in Mexico, that fiasco due to infrastructure. Still, though, I gotta just question things and recognize too that there is potential. Now, this might just be negligence and, again, profit taking instead of doing what you should do at a corporate level. And hey, this thing's getting old, could be dangerous. Well, we could push it another year. Next year we could push it another year. I think we could just get another year out of it.
Mm-hmm.
That way the profits go up, and everybody's happy in the corporate world, but then lives are being put in danger. But I do think that they need to look at infrastructure because also of just all the changes going on in the world. There is expanding Earth theory that we've talked about as well. And, we've also talked about mud floods. So, things that might have been stable a little while ago, they might not be stable anymore. And then the United States' infrastructure is just a total joke. So here you can see we had another M-class flare there. And this one's stronger than the previous one. This one's a magnitude 3.9 solar flare. And it's coming from active region 2822. This is one of the strongest solar flares of the new cycle. And this particular region does not favor Earth-directed CMEs, but we're going to have to watch and see what happened. We did have a shortwave radio blackout that took place over in North America. As you can see, the epicenter of that right there. So when the sun wakes up, it's a double-edged sword, because if it could fry all the draconian systems of control, then, God bless.
Mm-hmm.
Because it might mean a little bit of freedom here, but at the same time, are we prepared? Is everybody prepared? And, of course, there will be forces that will push back and try to unprepare people in these times, especially the light workers out there, and they know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
If you are what could be termed a light worker, a starseed, I believe they know who you are before you're even fully in the body.
Oh, I have been getting so many texts from people who are completely out of sorts. They cannot get grounded. They cannot get centered. And it's because of these energies coming in. And it's, our surroundings are not conducive to us being who we are, emotional beings, bringing in that divine feminine energy. It's not going to be easy for any of us. And then when we have the sun doing its thing, our bodies have to find their center again. They're going to be interrupted, and people are going to have trouble finding their center. So just hang on tight. You'll get through it. It'll be okay. But just know you're not alone.
No, you're not alone. And this Chinese rocket falling back to Earth is an interesting thing as well. It should be coming down sometime shortly, although it might make it another couple orbits. And China says, this is nothing. Don't worry. There's nothing to fear here. Sorry, guys.
No, nothing to fear here at all. Just everything is just completely normal. So don't worry about anything. Don't look here. Don't look there. Nothing's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. So they wouldn't confirm whether it was out of control or whether its descent will be controlled. However, a Chinese foreign ministry spokesman, It's funny how this happens. I mean, I'm talking fine all morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as we get on here, the control grid. So a Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson said on Friday the upper stage of the rocket is expected to burn up once it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere. The Global Times, a Chinese tabloid published by the country's Communist Party's flagship, the People's Daily newspaper, dismissed reports of an out-of-control descent as Western hype. The situation is not concerning. So I'll give you guys a couple links because there are a couple places. Traffic's really high though, so you might get bumped off that are actually watching this real time. And I'll attach the links to that and see it. Like it was just up there, but now it looks like we're getting bumped off. Currently traveling at 28,109 kilometers an hour, and as we can see, it's descending on down. Now let's see if this is still showing, because really basically it was approaching Chile. As you can see the altitude going down there. And we click this. The thing is, there's so many people watching this right now that it's constantly bumping off. And then I was getting not available because of high traffic, say like this. But basically at the moment it was approaching Chile and then Argentina, and then it was going to swoop out and go over Africa, come down over around India and Southeast Asia, dipping down towards Australia. But this might have another few orbits to go before it actually makes it down. And we have seen some massive power out of the Schumann resonance. And here you can see 110, 110, 70. It's strong. And this is the consciousness of the Earth raising herself up in vibration. And we need to do the same. And so, Cindy and I, as Cindy was sharing, so many people are reaching out to us right now. Like last night, we had several family members that were really on the edge because they could feel the energetic attacks that are underway. And so, we're going to start basically a water fast, and then it's going to transition into a juice fast, and then it's going to end up being a live foods, just alkalizing, because we need to alkalize. And like we shared with you guys, unfortunately, we've been too close to a 5G tower. And we may relocate out into the woods, and if we do that, then the videos will be sparser, just to let you guys know. It's going to depend on what we get from messages from the guides and whether we need to, get our butts a little bit more deeper into the woods where there's no signal. But we'll still, drive a bit and try to upload at least one video a day if that's the case, until we're able to get ourselves situated. Just to share with you guys on a personal note, our situation, we should have been in the property we were looking at already. It was bizarre. The loan officer had to go in for emergency surgery, right? And that delayed things. Appraisal was done, but nobody can find the appraisal. And the appraiser's missing in action. And when questioning this to the people at the bank and everybody, they'd never seen anything like this before. Never. They have no explanation for it. None. So, this is the type of thing that goes on. And in the old days, you might say gremlins, or maybe it's a curse, or, maybe it's just interference from beings that will try to interfere with those that they know are light workers at every step of the way. We had an issue before that was absolutely bizarre with the coupling of the trailer, going over a railroad tie area. That was bizarre and, pretty scary. We've had things like that too. I mean, we had the windshield crack out of the blue. You name it, we've had it. We've had that TR3B-ish thing flying alongside us. And, then it's any of the issues that Cindy had with her teeth started to amplify. We had one person that we were working on, and then black orbs came through literally came through the computer system. And, that is what initiated the tooth problems on Cindy. And she's had 2 root canals and 3 fillings. And
Don't forget
also,
the ears.
yeah, and also the crown had to be adjusted like 3 times that she had put on. And still there's pain, and nobody could identify why there's pain.
No, and
And this is like 5 different dentists I think we have seen, and it all coincided with that first initial 2 massive black orbs coming off of this one person that was definitely under draconian control. So, if you want to view it in a demonic light, yeah, that's what it is. It's demonic attacks. It's dark entity attacks that are very, very real.
Mm-hmm.
And interestingly enough, I mean, we have to keep our guard up all the time. And so, I always do thousands of mantras every day. And, last night, yesterday, I didn't get to them till late in the day, but once I did them, it changed the atmosphere completely. But we do, and it's just a reminder for us personally to do mantras and meditation, and basically a banishing ritual, AM and PM, and that's what I did for decades, and just continually move forward. If you miss it all, if you allow your vibrations to lower it all, they can jump right in, and they will jump right in at any opportunity.
They seem to like to use pain as an avenue, because I have these. The doctor said there's no ear infections, but there's a whole lot of pain and stuff going on with the ears too, because I've had the tumors removed, I've had bone grafting done, so I'm really particular. When I feel pain in my ear, I get kind of nervous, and they checked it out. It's like there's nothing there. So it's like they use pain as an avenue to come in and attach. It's so diabolical.
Yeah, and Cindy, before we met, she had a tumor. They literally drilled a hole in her head and took it out. And then afterwards, distance-wise, when I started to teach her, she had another one that came in, and I did distance energy work on her, and it dissolved. Mm-hmm. And again, it was verified by the doctor. It's there. Mm-hmm. Then it wasn't there. And then in person, about a year and maybe 3 months ago now, she was starting to feel a weird feeling in her ear, and so she went to the doctor, and I was there. And this was the local doctor, and she saw something in there. There was something that was growing, and that was on a Monday. And so I ran energy Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They sent us to a specialist in Vegas on Thursday, and it wasn't there. So, the energy got rid of 2 of them, and might have been able to get rid of the original too, as we're increasing in our abilities and power. Mm-hmm. Every one of us that is going to be able to avoid that big dreaded thing. And it begins with a certain letter. Mm-hmm. That starts with the word victory, but it's not victory for the light. So if we can avoid lowering our vibrations, we will be able to do amazing things. I do think all this, when they're showing you like the Marvel superheroes, and they're showing you, even if we look back to the mythologies of the Greek gods and different gods and this and that with these paranormal abilities, and we talk about the yogis with paranormal abilities, and we talk about the Tibetan rainbow body and how these monks can achieve that, we can do amazing things, especially the age that we're entering in, because we've been in the Kali Yuga, and we've also been eating horrible foods and breathing bad air, with all sorts of stuff in it, drinking unpurified water, hit with all sorts of chemicals and energies and radiations. So if all that was gone, humans would be incredible.
Mm-hmm. And right now, what I feel is happening, and I look at it like this when it comes to pain, is I'm purging. So if you're one of those that's going through emotional turmoil, physical turmoil, understand that you're purging so these energies can come in and raise you up in vibration. But things that no longer serve you must fall away. And sometimes that's physically painful.
It can be. So thank you guys for being part of the family. Make sure that you are subscribed on both channels. And thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. And if you need to make an appointment with us, it's evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com or EEARTS@protonmail.com. As always, stay prepared. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.